Good evening, and welcome to the launch of Season 9 of Project UnLonely Films. I'm Jeremy Nobel, president and founder of the Foundation for Art and Healing and its signature initiative, Project UnLonely. Tonight, we gather not just to watch short films, but to celebrate the power of storytelling to connect us, especially in moments when connection can feel hardest to find. Because, let's face it, we are living through extraordinarily uncertain times. Political upheaval, economic strain, and cultural division seem to be pulling at the threads that tie us together. It's in these moments when the instinct might be to retreat that we most need gentle reminders to turn towards one another, to reach out instead of tuning out. That's where Project UnLonely Films comes in. Short films are an easy, accessible, and fun way to connect, not just with each other, but with ourselves. Whether you're sharing a favorite film with a friend or reflecting on a story that moved you, these experiences spark the kinds of dialogue and empathy that help us thrive. This year, we've curated a collection of films that celebrate the joys of connection. From dramas to comedies, live action to animation, our Season 9 selections do what all great art does. They move you to tears of empathy, laughter, or both. And sometimes they lead you to a beautiful new insight about our shared humanity. This season, more than ever, we've sought out films that can surprise and delight you. Films on the joy of connection that are warm, lighthearted, funny, and even a bit irreverent. Because in challenging times, we don't just need stories that comfort. We need upbeat stories that can brighten our mood and leave us with a sense of possibility and hope. Tonight, we'll announce the Season 9 winning films. We'll hear some inspiring words from Steve Buscemi, our incredible Project UnLonely Films ambassador. And together, we'll watch one of our selected films alongside some talented filmmakers and hear directly from them about how that film made them feel. Film is a powerful window into someone else's world, inviting us to witness their challenges, their joys, and their moments of connection. And with that, in some magical way, we connect to others, and often to ourselves. With more than 150 films in our library, Project UnLonely Films has been amplifying these stories for 8 seasons. Stories of courage, creativity, hope, and the human need for belonging. But watching is only the beginning. In my book, Project UnLonely, Healing Our Crisis of Disconnection, I offer a 6-word prescription to foster connection. Be curious, make things, have conversations. I'll update that prescription for Project UnLonely Films by encouraging you to be curious, watch films, have conversations. This year, I also invite you to think of someone as you watch these stories, so you're not exactly watching it on your own. Share a film with a friend, a colleague, a family member. Watch it together. Use it as a spark for conversation, reflection, or perhaps reconnection with someone you haven't seen in a while. When you share a story that moves you, you're doing something simple yet powerful. You're making a meaningful connection with another person. So, let's get started. Let's dim the lights, press play, and celebrate the joys of connection together. Let's take a look at this short but very powerful 3-minute film, Embrace Your Signal, Loneliness, Art, and the Brain.
Loneliness can kill you, but it doesn't have to. Here's why. Loneliness may be the most human of feelings. Occasional pangs of loneliness are helpful signals from your brain, saying you need to be with others, just as feelings of thirst mean you need water. However, if left unchecked, loneliness can fundamentally rewire your brain in harmful ways. Chronic loneliness increases inflammation, raises blood pressure, and impairs the immune system, making you more likely to get sick. More insidiously, the lonely brain begins to see even routine social interactions as risky, which drives lonely habits, like viewing the world as threatening, not thinking clearly, and acting impulsively. These habits make it harder to connect with people and create a spiraling cycle that stops you from seeking the exact thing that could help reduce loneliness: meaningful engagement with others. But here's the exciting news. Scientists have found that the arts also rewire your brain, and in a positive way. When you're making or enjoying art, levels of the fight or flight hormone go down, and levels of feel-good hormones go up. And recent brain imaging research shows that the parts of your brain involved in forming social connections, the ones affected by loneliness, also light up when you engage in creative experiences. This research suggests that the arts can increase feelings of trust, empathy, and compassion. By being imaginative and creative, you can start a positive cycle that fights against loneliness. Creative engagement can reduce stress, lighten your mood, connect you with your inner self, and strengthen your brain's social superhighways, sparking brain activities that make it easier to connect with others. The simple and joyful act of creative exploration can take many forms. When you pursue one that moves you, your perception of the world changes. Compassion can replace conflict. You'll see opportunities where you once saw threats. Welcome this signal. Use the arts to navigate loneliness in a deeply human, health-enhancing, and lifelong way.
That's the fascinating science behind our work, clarifying how engaging in the arts changes our brains in ways that reduce loneliness and encourages connection. The power of films to change our brains and minds is especially meaningful. And who better to talk about the ability of film to connect us than our friend and ambassador for Project UnLonely Films, actor and director Steve Buscemi. I recently sat down with Steve for an enlightening conversation on this topic. Roll the tape.
So, Steve, it's great to see you again.
You too, Jeremy. How are you?
Roller coaster times.
Yeah, yeah.
The key thing in a roller coaster is to keep moving forward, and that's what I'm trying to do.
The world has gone through many, many challenges and changes, especially in this country. And I think it's just kind of important to remember that it is possible, to get through this together and to help each other through the hard times.
When you speak to people about Project UnLonely Films, what kind of reaction do you get? What stands out to you, and how are people responding?
Well, I think people are grateful, they're curious. I think it's always important, like when you're going through something, if you can name what it is, and I think what you've done and what your project has done has, put a name on, about what it is to be lonely and how can we help ourselves be unlonely, or how can we help others. I was, really struck by the five films because each of them were so different from each other, um, and and yet they all, in some way addressed this challenge.
That's very similar to feedback I often receive, which is putting a name
Mhm.
on this loneliness
Yeah,
helps, and also showing that you're not alone.
yeah.
And this year in our films, and we've got 33 of them launching on June 1st, we tried to focus more than ever on connection and how that feels. I'm wondering if that focus on connection, not just the the challenge and misery and dismay of loneliness, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
resolution of that through connection, if that came through for you in this season's films.
Oh, absolutely. I think in each of the films, it was making a connection that you see, how it affects the person, um, and each film was different. The Transcenders.
Yes.
It was a real challenge. It was because they felt they felt not seen, not heard, and in fact felt like there was aggression coming their way because they were transgender. Then when they created their own community, you could see the joy that they all had in being together and doing an activity that they loved and supporting each other. And it's always great to see that. And this will bring me to the fifth film, Confessions. The film itself is so charming and funny and touching and moving. So I felt it just elated me, and I kept thinking about it. I think film is another way for us to connect. And when you're seeing something on screen, if you're seeing yourself or a version of yourself on screen, or someone that that you have in your own life, that you're seeing their uh, what they're going through up on screen, I think it just gives you maybe a better understanding, or it can open up something in you that has compassion. Maybe there's a person in your life that you're having trouble dealing with, but then you see something on screen and it gives you maybe another perspective, and then that could help you with being more kind, not only to yourself but to your the person in your life who's going through something.
It's also another example, Steve. We know that digital technology and the use of social media in some ways has been quite toxic and harmful, particularly for young people. But this is a beautiful example of how that same technology really enables the sharing of these powerful stories in a way that can impact people all over the world. And then they can share it, share their responses, and be connected. I mean, so I think now's the moment to move past just saying, oh, technology is good or bad, or whatever we're going to see with artificial intelligence, good or bad. It's how we use it and what's our intention and how creative we are that I think will make the difference.
Yeah, these are all tools that we have that we can use to benefit ourselves, or sure, they can be destructive too. But um, I guess that's this is what's happening in our world.
How do we use these tools to build the world we all want our children, our grandchildren,
Yeah,
and ourselves to live in?
absolutely.
Steve, as we've been speaking about these really wonderful films that are out there and the impact of films, their importance to our society, we have to keep reminding ourselves we wouldn't have films without filmmakers.
Hmm.
And with so much uncertainty in the world now, and with so much interest in making films by young creatives, young filmmakers, script writers, actors, cinematographers, directors, how hard it is to get started. I'm wondering any advice you could offer this wonderful collection of people on which so much depends.
If you have an idea that you think is worthwhile, I guarantee you that there's other people out there who also think it's worthwhile, and who'd be willing to help. It's hard. I mean, it can be really challenging, and you may feel like giving up, or these feelings of doubt, even before you get started. But I would say to anybody who is in that place, just know that you can do it. It's possible to do it, and you're not alone in these feelings. You talk to any filmmaker about how they got started, or writer. there's always self-doubt involved. There's always that feeling of fear, or am I worthy? Do I have something to say? Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge it and then just keep working towards your goal and finding other people that can help you, and also help other people when they're asking, because that will also feed you, and it will inspire you.
Thanks, Steve. I can't imagine a more thoughtful advocate for Project UnLonely Films. For Season 9, we're featuring more than 30 short films that, starting tonight, will stream from our website for a full year, thanks to the generosity of sponsors and donors, not to mention the generosity of a wonderfully diverse and talented group of filmmakers. Tonight, we'll be enjoying the magic of film together as it intrigues, inspires, and connects us, celebrating the many reasons we love the movies. Please feel free to leave comments in the chat, beginning with where you're tuning in from this evening and a word or two about what you love about the movies. So without further ado, let the magic of cinema unfold. Welcome to the 9th season of Project UnLonely Films, where every story has the power to change the world. Let's start by watching the trailer for this season.
I've been praying for terminal illness.
As have I.
We're just getting started. But I'm gonna close my eyes now.
It's not your fault.
It's not gonna be easy. Thank you for making the whole.
I'm eager for you to watch the amazing short films from Season 9, now available to stream on our website at artandhealing.org. But don't go there yet. First, some important films to highlight. Over 30 films are featured in Season 9, and of those, we selected 3 award winners and 5 honorable mentions. This year's honorable mentions go to Parkinson's Together by Carol Ober, Morning Joy by John Henry Hinkle, Dirty Towel by Callie Carpentieri, Live Streams with Grandma Puzzles by Emily Sheskin, Confessions by Stephanie Kaznoha. Congratulations to these filmmakers for their incredible films. Now, let's watch one of our films together. I recently sat down with a few of our filmmakers from Project UnLonely Films to watch one of our films from Season 9 and talk about it. Enjoy the film, and especially the conversation to follow.
Hello, and welcome to a screening of Do Not Feed the Pigeons, one of our selected films from Season 9. Joining me are some of our amazing filmmakers from current and past seasons. Please welcome B. Monet, who directed Ballet After Dark, Emily May Jampel, who directed Lucky Fish, Ivan Cash, who directed Agent of Connection, and Marge Kleinman, who directed Stoop Chat with Jimmy and Shania. Welcome, everyone. Let's get started. Here's Do Not Feed the Pigeons, a terrific 8-minute animated short by Antonin Niklas.
I love the craft in this. Do any of you take the buses regularly?
I try to avoid it.
I'm often at Port Authority taking the bus.
Yeah, accurate.
So I can relate to some of this.
Port Authority.
So good. Oh my
That
god.
kills me. I love the eyes.
Those are good. Okay.
It's a sleeping bag, not a body bag, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like we've all probably been there, just like delay after delay. shot.
It's kind of magical. It's like a mobile.
Yeah, it gives me like Birdman vibes. Oh, it's really dope.
No boarding.
Wow, what a terrific film. So why don't we just jump in with just, did anything in this film catch your attention you thought was particularly special? Just something that, just kind of moved you top of mind. Anyone?
The visuals, the visuals were so captivating. They blew me away. I was like, this is a student film? Really? This deserves to be an Academy Award winning film. Like,
I thought the animation style was really interesting, like the different textures, and it's like such a quiet film. There's really no dialogue, and there's all these like tiny little details. There's so many interesting characters, and I feel like it really kind of showed a whole world, and you get a little window into all these people's lives.
I liked the pigeons being a kind of metaphor for connection and seeing how they, also were separate at first and they kind of, flocked together, and just this sort of I felt like a poignant moment of all the humans realizing that they were being like real separate from each other, and then start to have this like maybe like a kumbaya moment, and then suddenly the bus pulls up and it's kind of like interrupted, but then they're also still flocking together via the bus. That was like an interesting decision by the filmmaker to kind of like both interrupt that moment, but then for a moment of them all traveling together.
Was there something in the film that, you related to personally, either just from a content perspective or maybe even in a mood, or it made you feel some way that was nostalgic to some other time?
Sometimes we can be so convoluted in our own little worlds and not knowing like what someone else is going through. So I hope it's going to charge all of us to like get to know a stranger, a little bit more, have a conversation with someone that, it might feel uncomfortable. And I feel like that's the New York I remember.
I want to make space for the parts of us that like sometimes you don't have any energy left to connect with someone else, and like you just put the AirPods on or the headphones and just kind of need to self-protect. So I think it's important to like make space for the parts of us that aren't always able to be like an open vessel. And I think it's if we're not making space to connect with our fellow humans, then like what are we doing? I was at a local bodega in the East Village getting a juice, and commented on the person next to me who was waiting for a salad with a Knicks cap. I'm a big Knicks fan. And we immediately just like got into it. And without missing a beat, he's like, hey, do you have like a special Knicks story you want to share with me? I'd love to share one with you. And it was such a sweet invitation. And like I did, I have an amazing Knicks story from when I was in my early 20s, shared it. He shared something back. It was such a sweet moment. And then when he went to pay for his salad, he bought my juice. And it was like a $10 juice. It wasn't like it was like an expensive drink. It doesn't take much to make someone's day. Like truly that made my day. So, I want to make sure that I'm always open to that when I can be, and reciprocate that kind of generosity to a stranger.
I love that.
Love
that.
that story.
I love it too. I mean, in some ways, you folks, this. Films are stories. And it's a sharing of a story. And so it actually brings out stories. So I could imagine people, watching this film and just going right into stories, just like Ivan did. Other thoughts on how it relates either to loneliness or connection?
I felt like it had a really lonely tone. And just by nature of the situation, but I could really feel an identification with each of these people, and it just, I felt the loneliness of that room.
Like the idea of all these different kind of isolated people having their private, maybe lonely moments in a shared space. So they're all kind of experiencing that separately and individually, but it is also kind of beautiful when you zoom out and you maybe see it from like the pigeon's perspective, or, just when you see it all from above, it's very like they're all really kind of doing the same thing in their own ways, which I found really beautiful as a perspective. And that does feel like a microcosm of like New York in a way,
I just love that animation does a great job of visual storytelling and just like really pulling on your heartstrings in a way that sometimes I think live action can't do. We probably all make films so that people feel less alone. So I think, this is definitely, I think will inspire people to maybe hopefully connect with somebody new, hopefully.
I want to build on that. When if someone that you want to share the film with, what would you say to try to motivate them to watch it?
I mean, honestly, I feel like the craft is so strong that like I haven't seen a lot of films that have that level of just craft and unique visual storytelling. So to me, that is just as powerful as that is a part of the story, is and it's all very handmade and physical and tactile. So I think would probably be my lead, is like, check out this amazing story about, kind of a reflection of a certain part of our culture.
I would say I saw this super cool film that has a gorgeous look and feel, and it almost felt like a meditation. And I think you might like it.
Yeah. Or I sometimes when I share things with people, I'm like, I'd love to know what you think of it, kind of something like that.
Thank you all for that. I mean, you've been so generous really in sharing. Obviously as filmmakers, you see deeply into the impact of the craft and so on. Most people, maybe they'll notice the craft, but mostly they'll notice how it makes them feel.
Now I'd like to welcome a great friend of Project UnLonely Films. As the former president of motion picture development and production at Lionsgate Films, he is the ultimate film industry insider. Now an independent film producer, he returns again this year as our judge for the winning films. It's my pleasure to introduce Mike Pessernick. Mike, welcome to another season of Project UnLonely Films.
Thanks for having me back. I love watching the movies.
Let's jump right in. You saw the films this year. What did you think?
I thought it was a great assemblage of eclectic stories by innovative filmmakers who proved again to me that, you don't need a lot of money or a lot of technology to tell a good story. It's something that we can relate to, that connects us with other people.
These are troubling times for a lot of people. Politically, economically, a lot of people are stressed out. What role does film play in these particularly challenging times? Love your thoughts.
Well, to begin with, film's a great distraction from the news. There's only so much of it we can handle in one day. Yeah. But I think also movies are kind of a common bond that we have, and we've always had from the time we were little kids. They take us beyond the labels of political parties or the philosophies of governments and positions of governments. Films often work best when we can relate to the characters. when we realize that we have the same fears and aspirations as each other, regardless of what our political affiliations are or where we live. And that's what these did.
Yeah. Sometimes when I watch a film, I realize I'm not that different from some of these characters, and I feel a little less lonely, and I can kind of see other ways I can navigate my own choices. Do you think that's a common experience?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we want to be like the characters we see. I mean, that's why we create heroic characters. And it's really good to get together and dislike a character. It's a bonding thing. You don't have a good hero without a good villain. That's a long-tried Hollywood technique. You need to have people you can get behind to really hate and have someone come and save you from them.
Yeah. And the other thing that happens, when you're stressed out and you seek some kind of relief or comfort from films is you actually do have a chance to be out of that intense stress or pressure, relax, and sometimes that alone might let you see the world in a more positive light.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, we don't quite have it as bad as them.
Exactly.
So that's another aspect to it.
So, Mike, this is season 9, which means 8 seasons have come before this, and you've been our judge for every one of those. So you may recall that in the earlier seasons, we actually focused a lot on loneliness, the sense of disconnection, despair, dismay, and so on. And that was helpful in the early seasons because people were really trying to grapple with that very stigmatized topic and actually see it for what it was. This season, we made a deliberate effort to focus on the positive side, on connection, on belonging, and give people a sense of what that could bring to our lives. And I'm wondering whether we were successful in the films you saw.
Yeah, I thought this assemblage of films really captured the idea of connection. I was struck by one film called Swimming Through, which made me think about loneliness is not about how many people you're surrounded by. We can be really lonely walking through Times Square in the middle of New Year's Eve. And this film focused on 3 women who were going through a very depressing and lonely time, who found comfort and joy by doing something that they all shared a love for, which is swimming in a lake in the middle of the winter. Something, that some of us would find to be incredibly horrific. What this film did for me was it reminded me that it's not the number of people you're surrounded by who make you feel less lonely. It's the connection you have with people. This was about 3 women, and they were going through a very lonely period in their lives, and they found a connection by swimming in a freezing lake in the winter. And the few minutes a day they spent together lasted through the day for them and the week and made them feel a sense of purpose, a sense of connection with other people, and got them through a very difficult period.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the film really made that sense of connection joyous, even though I'm not sure I want to go swimming in freezing water. It obviously brought them together in some very powerful ways that, as you said, kept with them and kept them sustained through the entire day. A beautiful expression.
It was really well done.
So, Mike, how do you think film and storytelling connect us in this increasingly disconnected world?
Well, I think regardless of who we are, where we're from, what our backgrounds are, when we watch a film, we often have a very similar reaction to the characters. We feel connected to them one way or another, whether positively or negatively. Some would call this manipulative. I call it relatable. And whether we're watching in a community setting or alone, we feel connected to the characters or to the filmmaker who has presented those characters and to the others watching. The film experience is all about connecting people.
Is it as simple as humans, we're sensitive to the situations of other humans we see on the screen and then don't feel as alone?
Yeah, I think that is the case. I mean, why is it that you're sitting alone, you're watching someone you've never seen before and they make you cry? That's all part of the experience that we share in going to the movies. Yeah.
So, Mike, I'd love to know what you're most excited about in the films you're seeing now or even in the films you're making.
What excites me the most right now is how accessible filmmaking and film watching has become to an audience. It's not about technology. It's not about whether you've gone to school to learn how to be a filmmaker. It's about ideas and stories. And watching all of these young people come together, add to stories, retell stories, comment on stories, come up with their own stories. There's a million variations and millions of people are doing it. And some would say, oh, this is a bad thing for the future of the film industry. Well, I find it the opposite. This is what's going to fuel the film industry because we are cultivating audiences and filmmakers out there who are getting to practice telling their ideas and get used to watching ideas. And now, in the future, we'll just see them get refined and become longer and told in different formats. But the idea always in film is not the technology. Technology's changed through my lifetime. I can tell you all the nuance. Well, I wish I could. I could have someone who I know tell you all the nuance in the technology. I can appreciate the end result of it and how much easier or harder it is to execute. But the one thing that remains consistent is storytelling. And that is what is happening right now in huge amounts with people participating in it rather than just paying to watch it.
Yeah. And of course,
we still want them to pay, though.
And of course, we all benefit.
Yes, we all benefit.
Mike, it's great to see that your enthusiasm for film continues, and it's always inspiring to hear your perspective.
Thank you for indulging me.
My pleasure. So, Mike, are you ready to announce the first award winner?
This is the best part. Yes.
Okay.
First, I want to thank every filmmaker for submitting their film. The joy of connection really came through this year. I especially appreciated the compelling narratives and the sense of humor among this year's films. Great work to every filmmaker. Our first award is for Most Powerful Storytelling. This award goes to Barricade by Alice Johansson and Molly Young. The film tells the story of Alina, who bottles up her anger about a traumatic event until a chance connection triggers a small but significant act of rebellion that draws in others.
Do you want to join us? No, I couldn't. I'm not really a dancer.
Literally, neither are we.
Come on. Come on. Leave your things just there.
Thank you so much for recognising Barricade for the Most Powerful Storytelling Award. What an honour. We are so grateful to receive this award. We made Barricade in the hope that it would engage audiences and help them better understand the world around them, and so the fact that it's resonated in that way with the jury and hopefully beyond is incredible and all we could have asked for. Thank you to everyone at Project UnLonely Films for showcasing Barricade and for the incredible work that you do. Thank you.
So, Mike, tell us why you chose this film as one of our top 3 awardees this season.
So many people have experienced some form of harassment, and those experiences can be incredibly damaging and traumatic and difficult to talk about. How these young people dealt with this event really moved me. Our next award is for Celebrating Difference. This award goes to Transcenders by Diane Russo Chang. This is a story about Alexa and her journey as a trans woman, navigating the toxic culture that encompasses skateboarding and what it means to transcend fear through community.
And there might be this one moment where you land the ollie or you're successful at whatever you're trying to do. And it's those seconds that change everything. You never forget those moments.
Hi, Project UnLonely Films. My name is Diane. I'm the director of Transcenders. And I'm so honored to receive the Celebrating Difference Award. So thank you guys so much. Transcenders was really a labor of love. It took us a while to get funding. And in that time, I got to know Alexa, and it became deeply important to me that we create a film that is honest about trans and queer experiences, where pain and joy are both acknowledged and celebrated. So thank you guys so much.
Mike, tell us why you chose this film as one of your top 3 award picks.
Well, again, it's about connection. This documentary really highlights how finding your people who believe in you and support you, makes our lives so much richer and more meaningful. Alexa's journey to acceptance and belonging show how much community matters to bond us and to combat loneliness. Our final award is for Inspiring Connection. This award goes to Swimming Through by Samantha Sanders. It's about 3 women who forge a friendship by swimming throughout the winter in the ice-cold waters of Lake Michigan as a way to cope with the pandemic.
My skin feels as though I'm turning bionic. I feel metallic.
That's Deirdre's signature. Yeah.
The exhilaration is just remarkable.
Gorgeous. Woohoo!
I feel like we've discovered the fountain of youth.
It's a balmy 40 degrees out.
Hello, I'm Samantha Sanders, the director of Swimming Through. Thank you so very much for the honor of giving our film the Inspiring Connection Award. That is exactly what I hoped the film would do once it got out into the world. I am grateful to have it as part of Season 9 in Project UnLonely.
So Mike, why was Swimming Through one of your award choices this season?
This one was really about our theme. It was all about connection again. I love seeing how these women began swimming as individuals first, but then formed a community during a very isolating time. Perhaps the water itself was a metaphor for loneliness, cold and uninviting, but by facing loneliness together, they found warmth and joy in that moment.
Thanks, Mike. What amazing films. I can't help but notice that all 3 award-winning films centered on physical movement as a catalyst to their connection, introducing their bodies as a key component of the film. Mike, did you notice that too, and did that suggest anything to you?
You know, I hadn't noticed it while I was watching the film. I was kind of engrossed in the moment each time. But now that you mention it, it makes perfect sense. When we connect with others, our bodies are often doing the connecting too. Whether it's swimming or skating or dancing or cooking, gardening or drawing, it's often when we move with others that we open ourselves to new connections. As the old saying goes, you can't steer a parked car. So if I can give a little advice here, get out of the car if you want to connect and get up and get your bodies in motion.
Mike, what a terrific, terrific comment. Thanks again so much for your work to support Project UnLonely Films.
My pleasure, Jeremy.
And now I'd like to turn back to Steve Buscemi for some closing thoughts.
As we work together to strengthen human connection in this difficult time, any final thoughts?
I mean, I've always, been about creating your own work. As a young actor, I tried to, there's the thought that people have, I have to get an agent and I have to be seen in this and I have to, that stuff is true, but sometimes the best way to be noticed or is to be doing something that people are interested in, seeing. Or if you're not seeing the films that resonate with you and you feel like, why don't I ever see a story like this? It's because you haven't made it yet. It's because it's up to you to try and do it. There will always be other people out there who will share your vision, or who will want to be involved in helping you, create that vision. So in the end, really, it becomes about the making of it for me.
Yeah.
Did I have a good experience making this project, making this film?
Yeah.
And, just the making of it and coming together with all these other people to do something that you could not have done, by yourself. That for me is the true value of doing it.
Thanks again, Steve. We look forward to ongoing collaboration throughout the season. And to all of you watching, I encourage you to bring people together to watch our films on college campuses, in workplaces, in community organizations like YMCAs, libraries, places of worship, and even around the dining room table. Hosting a film screening is a great way to bring together your community for a fun, connecting, and fulfilling time. To learn more about loneliness and how the arts can help us navigate it successfully, please read my book, Project UnLonely, Healing Our Crisis of Disconnection. I wrote this book to humanize loneliness, demystify it, and offer creative ways to design your own Project UnLonely. Please take advantage of it. Be sure to visit our website at artandhealing.org to watch all our Project UnLonely films. You can also visit our newly launched Creativity Hub, which includes a dozen fun, free, and easy activities that can spark your creativity. We depend on your support to make Project UnLonely Films available to all. Please consider making a gift for any amount in support of Project UnLonely Films. These films are not only a source of support for a person navigating loneliness, they're also a gateway to additional resources that help people get informed, engaged, and connected. You can support us online at artandhealing.org/donate. The link will be in the chat. Finally, I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors and promotion partners for Season 9, FAH Leadership Circle members, and the individual donors who enable our work. My deepest gratitude to our board of directors, our staff, our film curator, Aaron Leventman, and our dedicated film screening team. And especially to all the filmmakers who contribute their creative gifts to make the world better for all of us. Also, a grateful shout out to Steve Buscemi, Mike Pesternak, and the magnificent filmmakers who joined us this evening for their personal contributions to this very special event. Lastly, thanks to Awaken Films, our production partner for more than 15 years, and thanks to Cognition Studios for their help in creating the Embrace Your Signal film, available on our website to watch again and share with others. Thank you all. Enjoy these films. Stay connected and be unlonely. Have a great night.